Dead Island versus Dead Island 2, and reminiscing about like Dead Island and how great it was, and how, well, some might even argue that Dead Island is the superior game. One thing people like to bring up is the driving. Be like, you can't even drive in this game. It's such a downgrade. Um, we were told for a long time, that this game was going to be uh, a more linear experience. So that way they could focus more on what made Dead Island a great game, what kept us coming back for more. So no, driving's not going to be a thing in this game. Now, when they introduce the DLC, one of the DLCs could introduce driving.
Another smooth operation. Now, back to Lifeguard HQ.
You never know. They could introduce driving with another with a DLC, taking you to a brand new map where you can drive around the beach, running over zombies. So that could very well be in the future or not. But the driving was never what brought people back to Dead Island. It was always the combat. It was always looking at the game and seeing if you could do better, or maybe experiment with your strategies a little bit to see if you could tighten it up. But no, when people think of Dead Island, they think about dismembering zombies with all kinds of wildly modded weapons. It was never the driving. Okay, so yeah, that's not a thing. I have probably put in about 60 meaningful hours into this game. It says 64, but I'm going to say 60 meaningful hours, which means I was actually playing the game, exploring, doing things. So yeah, there's the concern of how short the game is. Somebody said that you can complete the game in 8 hours. Um, you can complete Dying Light in a similar fashion. I think I completed the main story in about 8 hours one time. So I mean, Dying Light is that's a game you can complete in 8 hours, completely ignoring the side quests. Um, People complain about how the story ends so abruptly with your Slayer staying in Helle, because they believe that the answer to everything is still in Helle in the form of an individual and what they represent, right? The original Dying Light did the same thing. Crane's on the roof. He just killed Rise. Here comes the GRE helicopter to try to coax him into coming with them, and he's he decides he's going to keep the data, and he's staying in Haran because he believes that the answer lies in Haran in the form of Dr. Camden and his research. And this is a perfect way of allowing the player to come back into the game, stay as long as they want, completing side quests while you wait for DLC. So I believe this game took a page out of Dying Light's book almost perfectly with that whole end story beat. Dead Island's version, so it's a little bit more dramatic. You know, you see your Slayer, with with this mighty hammer, just like one tapping everything, right? Um, so yeah, there's nothing wrong with the ending of the story. I actually believe that I mean, they're teasing us with these Lovecraftian motifs, and like the sewer, right? The gunky flesh all up in the sewer, and it's basically a nest. Um, and then there's the idea of these Newmans, right? We're a Newman, right? We're not just a really, really lucky person who's immune, right? There's something about us that makes the virus respond to us differently than other people. There's this idea of a cosmic order of things and trying to avoid the inevitable collapse of humanity, but unfortunately, by trying to do that, perhaps they have sped along humanity's extinction. These are deep topics, and I am genuinely interested in them. I like Lola and her friends. It's all so cryptic and mysterious, right? They know something, and they're kind of being very cryptic about what that something is. And so I'm really looking forward to the coming expansions to this story, and how they are going to flush out um, this very deep story that that Dam Buster cooked up with the second game. So far, I'm kind of digging it. It's almost like it kind of reminds me how the original Dead Space, the original story for the first game was very cryptic, the original, and then with the second game, um, they start flushing out just this weird universe that you were thrown into when you took on the role of Isaac Clarke. And as the story evolves, you understand just how deep the lore goes, right? So I'm wondering if that's what we're going to see with Dead Island 2's direction, that they're wanting to uh, create a more in-depth system of lore for the Dead Island universe. One that I don't really think the first game tackled. It was the Kuru virus, a very real virus, and so I don't think I think they're kind of throwing a little bit. They're just kind of like throwing the bathwater out, but keeping the baby, right? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So they're wanting to turn it into a different direction, and you can kind of see that hinted in Sam B. You notice Sam B was immune to the Kuru virus, but he come to find out he's not immune to this virus. This is something different, right? This is it seems like this is something completely different because he was actually getting sick when he got bit. It took a little longer for him to weaken because of his genetic makeup, but ultimately it was pretty obvious this is not the same virus. Your immunity is different from his immunity. And so I like this. I like this a lot. This is not just more Dead Island in terms of story. There's something very different going on here, and I dig it. So I'm really excited to see where they take this whole Newman thing and the Lovecraftian stuff. Absolutely, I'm all for it. So yeah, the ending of this story is actually a lot more interesting because it's teasing us with so much more to come out of this universe. That's a good thing. Okay. It's done very well here. It's done very well in the way that Dying Light did it. There was still a lot for the player to do. The Callisto Protocol tried a similar tactic with their ending, but it was not the same. It was uh, one house of horror room funneling you into another house of horror room, funneling you all the way to the end, and then teasing you with an ending that's obviously locked behind DLC. And for a game that short with nothing else to do, locking the ending behind a DLC is unforgivable. Big difference. Big difference. So yeah. Anyway, that is all I have for now, my darlings.
It's you. Thank goodness. Hey, where's Bert? I got his float. You haven't seen him?
You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening.
What happened?
And you all stay safe out there in LA. And I will catch you
Bert told me to start running.
on the flip side.